Hello, and welcome to the Observationist World Brief for July 21st, 2025, where we cut through the geopolitical fog to give you analysis and understanding of geopolitical issues from around the globe. We start with the daily observation. We are witnessing a fundamental transformation of America's role in global affairs, from a defender of democratic values to war profiteer exploiting others' misery for financial gain. Trump's new Ukraine policy perfectly encapsulates this shift. Rather than providing aid to a nation fighting for survival, America now positions itself as an arms merchant, selling weapons to Europeans who then bear the actual burden of supporting Ukraine's defense. This represents more than a policy change. It's a moral degradation of America's leadership. All previous administrations, Republican and Democrat, supported our NATO allies fully. Trump has stripped our commitment to freedom and democracy. The United States now explicitly profits from war while avoiding the responsibilities that once came with global leadership. European taxpayers now fund the weapons purchases that enrich American defense contractors, while America retreats from any meaningful commitment to collective security or democratic solidarity. The implications extend far beyond Ukraine. If America no longer honors Article 5 commitments to our NATO allies, why should Europe maintain expensive American military bases? If the U.S. views conflicts merely as business opportunities rather than moral imperatives, then we have to ask ourselves, what kind of country do we have? What kind of country do we want? Trump has transformed the United States for now. Will the American people allow that change to become permanent? The mercenary approach to international relations will accelerate Europe's push towards strategic autonomy as allies recognize they can no longer rely on American partnership, but instead see to their own security. Well, if you like our observations, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, check us out on Patreon, where our longer format videos and audio podcasts reside. With America no longer committing to Article 5 of NATO and Trump turning the United States into a war profiteer on the Ukraine war, I wonder how long NATO can persist under those conditions. If the U.S. is not committed to European security, does Europe need the U.S. anymore? Will American bases still be welcome in Europe if they no longer benefit Europe? This will require our continued attention. NATO committed to unprecedented 5% GDP defense spending by 2035. And the EU reinforced its 30.6 billion euro annual support for Ukraine. Slowly, Europe reduced its need for U.S. protection. Trump announced a novel weapons supply arrangement through NATO allies after growing frustrated with Putin's unwillingness to negotiate. Contrary to national media narratives, however, the renewed American engagement, this represents America's withdrawal from actual aid to Ukraine, transforming from a provider of military assistance to being an arms merchant, selling weapons to Europeans who then give those weapons to support Ukraine. So Ukraine will now get the weapons it needs, but with a catch. Patriot missiles and other systems will be included, but only if they are paid for. Trump has made America a war profiteer. Trump issued Putin a 50-day ultimatum threatening 100% secondary tariffs on countries doing business with Russia if no ceasefire deal is reached in 50 days. Since U.S. buys almost nothing from Russia, it's unclear how meaningful that threat is going to be. Plus, who knows what Trump's whimsical nature will have him do after 50 days. He may not even remember the threat. The 2025 NATO summit presented mixed messages to Ukraine. While NATO committed to tens of billions of euros in defensive assistance, Ukraine's role in the meeting was relegated, with President Zelensky only invited to a working dinner rather than any high-level meetings. The joint declaration mentioned Ukraine only twice, compared to dozens of times in previous summits. Does this mean there are disagreements within NATO to how much Ukraine should be supported? Is the U.S. the source of this division? European countries have committed to an historic defense spending commitments. At the 2025 NATO summit in Hague, allies committed to investing 5% of GDP annually in defense. NATO established NATO security assistance and training for Ukraine to coordinate military equipment and training. In 2025, allies have so far committed an additional 35 billion euros in security assistance following Europe's 50 billion provided in 2024. Slowly, Ukraine and EU draw closer together. NATO's nations have scores of observers in Ukraine learning about drone designs, usage, and doctrine. This fact alone suggests to me that Ukraine will eventually join the EU and maybe even NATO. Coalition of the willing. UK, France, Germany, Canada, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, and all the others of NATO formed what's called the Coalition of the Willing, committed to providing at least 40 billion euros in military support to Ukraine in 2025. Significantly, though, the United States, although attending that meeting, declined to join that Coalition of the Willing and has made no firm commitments to helping Ukraine at all. Europe launched the ReArm program, a strategic breakthrough aimed at mobilizing local industrial capabilities and bolstering European equipment production. Basically, this is their effort to build up their military-industrial complex. And that's why they have a goal of 2035 to get to that 5% level, because it's going to take them that much time to get the military-industrial complex rolling. As the observationists, we feel that NATO will evolve into the EU military force. How or even if the United States will be involved in the future is to be determined. Republicans like J.D. Vance and others indicate a commitment to reducing or even ending our participation in NATO. So the United States' continued presence and alliance and partnership in Europe is definitely at risk and at stake. One final point. Europe leads in controlling AI. The European Artificial Intelligence Act entered force February 2nd, 2025, making the EU the first major jurisdiction to comprehensively regulate AI systems. The law bans dangerous AI applications like real-time facial recognition in public spaces, social scoring systems, and AI that manipulates people through subliminal techniques. High-risk AI systems used in hiring, healthcare, and law enforcement face strict oversight requirements. In contrast, the United States has no federal AI regulation at all. The Observationist uses AI. It is a powerful technology, but like anything that is powerful, it is open to abuse. From January to April 2025, the average applied U.S. tariff rate rose from 2.5%, which is what it was under Biden and everybody else before him, to an estimated 27%, the highest level since the Smoot-Hawley tariffs caused the Great Depression. And they are only going to go up. Each week brings new tariffs. Trump invokes the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose his tariffs, even though federal courts ruled this unconstitutional. Trump ignores the courts, and congressional Republicans do nothing to rein Trump in, even though tariffs are constitutionally defined as Congress's responsibility. And a final point, war is possible between Greece and Turkey because of Turkey's aggressive claims in the Mediterranean for the oil and gas thought to be there. Turkey condemned Greece's claims, claiming it encroaches on Turkey's jurisdiction in the Aegean Sea and Eastern Mediterranean. The dispute centers on more than 3 trillion cubic meters of natural gas and 1.7 billion barrels of oil that is suspected of being there, not proven, with Turkey maintaining that Greek islands should not have full exclusive economic zones. And this puts Turkey at odds with international law and the UN. Erdogan is aggressive, and Greece is not backing down. Not possible to predict how this is going to turn out. We'll have to keep watching it. And finally, Armenia's parliament approved a bill launching EU accession process, with President Kachaturian approving it. The long-term goal of Armenia joining the UN is getting closer. Russia has long opposed this, but fewer care what Putin thinks anymore. Meanwhile, Bulgaria received final approval to join the Eurozone. The Euro will be introduced in January 1st, 2026. Well, that includes the Observationist report for July 21st, 2025. Please join us for our daily world briefs And check out our deep dive videos that will be coming soon. One will be on what China is really trying to do in the South China Sea. Another is why Russia is doomed to lose the Ukraine war. Actually, I concluded that after only 6 weeks. You got to watch it to figure out how I came to that conclusion. And what I'm really looking forward to is an AI war game of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. I got this idea to do this because of the CSIS, that's the Center for Strategic and International Studies, their war game that I have some issues with. Anyway, please check us out on that. I think you'll enjoy it. And by the way, tell us in the comments which one you would like to see first. And please like and subscribe. And find us on Patreon, where our videos, extended commentaries, and audio podcasts are curated. Thank you very much.